Good day, guys. Hey, how you doing? Coach here. Hey, I wanted to kind of express a thought with you before we got started on this week's topic. And it's just a little bit off topic, but not that far off. You know, after this past year that we've had and all that went along with it, all the challenges, all the new ways of interacting with people, the precautionary measures, I hope, I really do, I sincerely hope that 2021 is going to be one hell of a lot better year. We are going to persevere. We are going to overcome. We are going to adjust. We are going to have the medical community catch up with this goddamn thing, and we will be a lot better off. And this is the year that everybody is going to get back to the new normal. What do you say? Together, I think we can do it. Okay, on to this week's topic. This week, we are going to look into a beginner's guide for landscape projects for 2021. And when I say beginner's guide, we are going to walk before we jog and we are going to jog before we run. So this particular video is going to include the walking part of getting a landscape project out of here, down on here, and eventually out there. And that's what we are going to cover today. So, if you don't mind, Maestro, please. Hey, I'm Matt, and you can call me Coach. Hey, every week I bring to you landscape tips and tricks and design concepts in a hopefully easy to understand format so you can tackle landscape projects yourself in your own yard, be more self-reliant, get the professional results that you want, and save a boatload of money in the process. You know, after a 20-plus year career as a successful landscape designer, landscape contractor, a retail nursery manager, as well as college educated in ornamental horticulture, I think I bring to this channel a whole heck of a lot of experience that I want to impart to you, today's modern self-reliant homeowner of today. Hey, this week's video, we are going to concentrate basically on just that. Basics. We are going to start to walk before we jog and before we run. What I want to do is I want to impart the basics on you, because I have found that when you get a whole lot of information that is just barfed on you in a short video, sometimes you have to go back and go back and go back and go back, and you still don't digest it all the way. So I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel when I try to engage with computer techno stuff. You know, I can have a guy on a YouTube channel try to explain things to me, and he throws his jargon, which I don't understand, throws his jargon onto me, and about 15 minutes or so through the program, I kind of, you know, your head just goes, you ever have that happen when you're in a new topic and you just can't absorb any more that fast? That's sometimes how it happens. So for me, it's just getting out there and doing the basics with you guys right now. Now, if you stick with me to the end, I even have a little something that I want to give to you that might help you, you know, not only reinforce what you're learning here today, but also something that you can post up on the fridge and keep with you before, during the project you're going to launch this coming year in 2021. So here come the basics of where to start, what to do, how to find, and how to launch a landscape project in such a manner that you who may have never done this before will have the confidence to get out there and do it on your own, but in a form and fashion that gives you all the confidence you're going to need. So if you haven't picked up by now, I've been doing this landscape design and contracting thing for quite a few years now. And now I've expanded a little bit, and I've been, shall we say, experimenting on social media platforms. And one of them happens to be Facebook, and the other one is Reddit, where I have read a whole lot about people asking for guidance or help or whatnot, or they have a project, or what would you do if you had this, or I have this problem, how would you guys address it? And I find kind of a, no pun intended, kind of a common thread here, and that is that it's like they're starting to launch a project. They're not sure if they're doing it right, and they're throwing it out there to the general public to validate what they're doing or seek advice on what they're doing, or am I doing the right thing? It's kind of like a public validation, you know, that and the thing is some people are really helpful. I try to be when I post comments there, but there are some people who, if you aren't doing what is the norm, or you're not going about it the right way, man, there's some people that is absolutely chastise and reprimand and really in kind of a rude way change people's direction. Whether they do it or not is a different story. But man, you know, people, you gotta ease up on beginners. You really do. We're all there at one time. Even me, you know. Hey, I didn't start out landscaping one morning. I went through years and years and years of getting on training and experience and formal education and all that other stuff. We just don't wake up one morning, you know. We just don't wake up one morning and you're all that. And I think there's some people out there that maybe get just a little inflated ego as a result of maybe some of their successes or their collegiate educations or whatever. But all in all, I think social media platforms are a good thing, because some newbies or even some experienced people throw this stuff out there to the Ethernet, and what they thought was the only way of doing something suddenly becomes an eye-opener. You know, you get other thoughts and points of view, and you can see by the reposts of the person who originally posted it, you know, hey, I never thought about that. I didn't see things that way. And that right there, I think, makes it a good thing, as long as it's done in a very constructive, polite manner. I think it becomes a very useful tool. Okay, so this week, when we talk about the basics, I'm going to start off with something that is kind of attached to report writing and English and grammar. We're going to talk about the 5 W's and an H of the landscaping world. And when I'm talking about the 5 W's, we're going to talk about the who, the what, the where, the why, and then we're going to talk about the H, which is how. So when we talk about those 5-letter acronyms, we're going to talk about the who. And the who is you. Yes, you. You are the person that is going to be thinking and doing this. And the who also involves that little inner circle, that little nucleus of everyone that's going to be involved in it. Now, when we talk about the what is the actual project itself. The what is going to refer to what you're planning to accomplish. What goal are you making out of this landscape project? Now, the where is fairly straightforward. It's going to be, where is the project taking place? Is it going to be your front yard? Is it going to be your backyard? Is it going to be a friend's house? Is it going to be a family member, an elderly family member that you're helping out and redoing? So the where is the actual location. But also think about the where being, what compass direction of the yard does it face? What do you have back there? And a lot of the wheres of bringing it together as far as what type of a landscape is going to be needed back there in the where. The why is the whole purpose behind the project. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this for more livability? Are you doing it for property value, equity value? Are you doing it to prepare for a resale? Maybe you're trying to re-landscape it because it's just too darn much maintenance right now. Like out in California where I practiced, you know, a lot of people reduced lawns by 60 and 80% because of the drought that we went through years ago. And they never went back to big, maintenance-driven lawns any longer. Maybe you're doing something like getting rid of a cement swimming pool and doing it into a large pond area that you can enjoy because you don't have kids in the house no more and you guys don't use the pool not nearly as much as you did in years gone by. So the why, and finally the how. How are you going about doing this? How much of it are you going to do yourself? How much are you going to bring a pro in to help you out? How much help are you going to bring in to help do it if you're going to make it a DIY project? And how also goes to tools, equipment needed, etc. And when I talk about that is, can this one project that you're starting out in the basics be done with a shovel, pick, and a hoe and a wheelbarrow? Or do you need to get into some power equipment because you're taking a sod lawn out and you're going to need a sod cutter? Maybe you're going to need a small skid steer or a backhoe if you're thinking on a grande scale. And all of this stuff is a learning curve that once you expose to it, you can actually figure it out yourself. You know, when we talk about the how, I'm a DIYer for obvious reasons. I know how to do this kind of stuff, and I made a good living at it for several decades. But there are still those of you, no matter how much you watch this video or everything else, is just not your cup of tea. And I totally get that. That's perfectly okay as far as I'm concerned. But for those of you who are watching this, I am in your camp 100%. This is something you can do, and you're starting off right by being in my classroom today and learning those 5 W's and an H. Now, once you write out that part of it, you answer yourself on a piece of paper, your W's and an H. I'm serious. You guys have got 50% of the angst, the stress, the mental minutia done. The rest of it will come right now. You know, no matter how small a project it is or how big a project, no one, and I mean nobody, should roll out of bed on a Saturday morning and with a toothbrush in their hand going to it saying, you know what, I'm going to re-landscape that damn front yard this weekend. Yes, I am. And walk out there in your bathrobe with a shovel in one hand, a saw in the other, and just have at it. Just start in. And you know something? I can't tell you how many times I have actually seen this happen. Not to the point of toothbrush in your mouth and a bathrobe, but people, they think they have it, or their motive to do it is driven by something else. You know, I don't know if it sounds familiar to you, but I have consulted, designed, and worked with a lot of people where one half has gone outside in the front yard and started hacking and butchering and piling up and doing all that stuff because in their minds it's like, I'm so tired of hearing it, that so-and-so bitch about this. I am going to get this done. I'm going to knock this out this weekend. That way I can have more time with the kids. I can work on my car. I can take the boat out. I can go fishing, any number of things, but so-and-so is not going to nag at me about this anymore. Does any of that sound familiar? I've sure heard it a lot. Okay, so if any of that does sound familiar, or maybe you're in a much more congenial type of relationship, let's start with a couple of things that after we pump the brakes of that impulsive go do something, let's pump the brakes and let's talk about a few other buzzwords I'd like you to enter into a landscape project. First of all is communication. That in and of itself, within a relationship and home ownership and leaping off into the deep end of a landscape project, is single-handedly probably at the top of my list that every couple and partner have to be on board with. Communication has to be coalesced, it has to be agreed upon, it has to be talked about in a constructive manner. There can't be someone who's really overlording one side of the whole project. It has to be an agreeable and enjoyable process that both people come to terms on and everybody's on the same page. Once communication is mastered, then let's talk about budgeting and planning. How many times I have seen where one half of the project owner, let's just say for the sake, I'll just say the guy, okay? So the guy, he saw the Joneses down the street have a professional job done, and it turned out spectacular. The water features and patios and patio covers and lights and everything. And by God, the Joneses spent $85,000 on it. And our our guy goes, well, okay, maybe we don't need 85, but I got a pretty good idea about a $50,000 job. And that guy's partner goes, honey, we got about $5,000 of disposable income we can use, and yeah, we got a home equity line of credit if we want to tap into that. But honestly, we can't afford to get into any debt any further anyway. And besides, the baby's due in 6 months. So we need to get on this and be able to do it smartly. Does that sound familiar, guys? Now, if you're a homeowner who's single and you're a kind of a captain of your own ship, then maybe you don't need a lot of input from family and friends. You're there at the helm doing what you want to do, and not a big deal. But for the rest of us, we've got that spouse or that partner that we have to kind of be in congruency with, and it's extremely important, especially when it comes to the budget and planning. You may have the communication down, but somebody's thinking 50 grand and someone else is thinking 5 grand. There's a big difference. And I found that a lot of times at the kitchen table where I did most of my consulting and designing work with folks, is they hadn't talked about a budget. And as a stranger, most of the time, walking into someone's house and sitting down and starting to listen, when you mention the word money as a designer, everybody they pick up their cards off the table, and it's kind of like this. They hold them very, very close to the vest, almost like it's none of your business what our budget is. And I have a spiel that I used to use quite a bit, and by the end of the consult, we'd understand that I'm not designing something that's $85,000. I'm designing something that's within these people's budget that they can actually live with, because it's always been my adage is I don't want anybody eating pork and beans over the cost of a new landscape. It's just, that's not fair to yourself, and sure makes me feel like crap. So when it comes to the communication, planning, and budgeting, I'll share a quick landscape story with you, real quick, down and dirty. I was hired by a couple in a nearby town, and I went there and they hired me as a designer, and I did all my photography and consulting and wants and needs and likes and dislikes and all the stuff that I used to do. And I presented the plan about 2 weeks later, and we sat down at the kitchen table. And what I found was they were just in love with the design and all the concepts and facets that I had put into it. It was pretty much within their sphere of budget and everything. But something happened during that consult. And I don't blame myself, because I think there were some other issues there. But it turned out that they ended up going through a total meltdown right with me present over one silly thing. I mean, this thing blew up so bad, so loud, that I left the house. I went outside and sat in the truck, and it continued. I could hear it from my truck out on the street, so bad that the neighbors called the police. The police had to arrive. And after all this is said and done, the whole reason this became almost a divorce situation that week over the color and finish of the backyard patio and walkways. Seriously? Really? That was the whole issue. That blew the budget out of there. And one half said we can't, the other half said we'll make it happen, and it just melted down. And that is not good communication. Good Lord, not good budgeting and planning for sure. Anyway, after a couple of weeks, I guess everything settled down. The husband called me, apologized profusely, and invited me back. They both apologized, and we actually moved forward with a successful project without the color that one half wanted. Anyway, small landscape story. Okay, so one of the things I really want to impart on you is we are going to marry part of the budgeting and planning into another phase, and it's going to be very important here, that you'll find out in a second. What I'd love for you to do is take a Saturday morning, run by your local House of Joe and get a hot cup, and then I want you to go out and start doing some things that'll maybe be an eye-opener for you. And that is, I'd love for you to go to local nurseries. I would love for you to go to bulk material yards. I would love for you to go to or call cement companies, and I want you to start to source where these things are and what some of the prices are. And I want you to write those costs down. cost of a bulk yard of compost, a cost of a bulk yard of bark chips or pine straw, whatever is used in your area, a cubic yard of gravel, if gravel is going to be part of your xeriscape, how much costs. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever lumber yard and find out how much a board foot and stuff is for building your raised vegetable beds or whatever it might be. And then come back to the kitchen table after you've had this morning road trip and start adding things up. And you tell me, are you still within budget? Can you still move ahead? Or do you have to adjust accordingly? And I'll tell you a real secret. This is a secret that I've imparted on a lot of people, and that is plant material is some of the most expensive cost of a landscape project. Well, if you're patient enough, you don't need to get that 24-inch box specimen tree, get a 15-gallon. You don't have to get a 5-gallon bush, get a gallon bush. And there you will save hundreds and hundreds of dollars based on that little tip alone. So you can see how budgeting and planning kind of dovetails into sourcing, and the sourcing feeds that budgeting and planning. And once you have those things down, what I want you to do is get some real simple, and I mean simple, ladies and gents, real simple design tools. I'm talking about anything from a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil with an eraser on it, and a little triangled engineer ruler that you can get at Staples, and a little like barrel landscape template that you can get at Staples or on Amazon. Something super, less than 20 bucks for sure. And get yourself a 11 by 17 piece of paper, or you can go to Staples and get some larger graph paper. And I don't want you to have to think you need to be a landscape architect. I don't want you to think that you're an experienced landscape designer. I just want you to understand the principle behind scale measurement. And you'll see that on your engineer rule. You can YouTube it, very simple. But you're going to take your backyard or front yard and you're going to place it on a piece of paper and sketch it out. You're going to sketch out the things that are going to stay, like your house obviously, your driveway or your back patio that's already there, and then leave what elements you're going to leave in your sketch, and then start thinking after your road trip some of the things that you'd like to put in. And that comes from your planning and research of what you want to see in there. And goes back to one of the W's. What are you planning to accomplish, and what's it going to do for you? So after you do a rudimentary sketch and you've put in little circles and squigglies and stars and all that other stuff, then I'd like you to do something. Take that sketch and go to a reputable, knowledgeable staff person at one of the local nurseries and run it by them. And if you get the stuff there, you get the materials and plant material there, these people are going to help you. And like I told you in last week's video, you're going to have a pro in your pocket for years and years to come. So now, after you've got this professional validation from the person or persons at the nursery, you've decided on what you're going to do yourself. Maybe you're going to do the demolition. You're going to have family and friends over, and you're just going to rip and tear everything that is going to be going out. And a little bit of planning goes along with that. So now that you've gone through all of this process so far, and you've step by stepped it, you've broken it down into smaller bite-sized chunks of a project, now you're coming up on the part where everybody is on board, right? The sketch is on board with everybody. Your budget is on board with everybody. Now comes the scheduling. And scheduling can be kind of tricky in this day and age, don't you think? I mean, maybe you have one person working full-time, or both parents are working full-time, or both partners are working full-time, and you're going to do this thing yourself. Maybe you're going to be doing the demo, and maybe you're going to be doing the lighting, and maybe you're going to be doing a small water feature, but you're going to bring in a pro to do the patio or the walkways or whatever is involved. Now scheduling has to come in. You pull out your computer or pull out a document and put it on a calendar and pick a launch date. Pick a launch date that's going to work for you. Are you planning on doing this like 12 weekends in a row over the course of 3 months or so? Or are you going to jump on it with an extended vacation and knock it out all at once? There's so many times I've seen people say, well, we're going to design it, but then we're going to do it in phases. And phases is just a translation for we don't have the time and we don't have the budget to do it all at once. It will never be cheaper than yesterday. Keep that in mind when it comes to landscaping. You know, I used to sell plants for 99 cents on sale in a gallon can. You could buy a gallon can tam juniper on sale for 99 cents. Well, that same tam juniper is almost $10 now. So you can imagine every single month and year that you postpone it, everything in landscaping is going to get more and more expensive. So the sooner you get on it and you get it in and get it done, the cheaper it will be in the long run. So part of scheduling as well is, do you have the tools to start and finish this job? Tools, let's just say you're doing a weekend project and you're putting in 2 raised vegetable beds. Well, then you're probably needing, you know, a saw, shovel, a little hardware fabric, the lumber obviously, and you can knock it out, probably building it in a day and filling it the next day. But maybe you're doing a whole landscape makeover. Most tools are always acquired in 3 ways. You already own it, you borrow it, you rent it. Those are generally the 3 ways that you're going to use this. So scheduling those things up of, I got to go to the Smiths and get 2 picks, and I got to go to the Joneses and I got to get 2 wheelbarrows because I don't have these things, but they offer to loan it to you. And I got to go down on Saturday and get the sod cutter. So I called ahead to the rental yard and they're going to reserve it for me. So part of scheduling goes to that as well. So the launch date is on tap for this Saturday, and you were so fortunate enough to have 3 family members and 2 friends come over and join you. By God, take care of those people. You know, water and feed them at lunch and at dinner, and it will make such an easier day of demolition. I cannot begin to tell you. Don't forget to schedule your dump trailer that you've rented or a drop box dumpster from the local waste company probably a day or 2 in advance so they have it there, and then knock this thing out of the park. If you try to do it as a lone wolf approach when it's just you, yeah, some of us can do that, but it is so much easier in a team environment. You guys will all be sweating, you'll be achy, you'll be sore, God forbid anybody's bleeding, but you guys will support and empower each other through a very tough day out there doing some hard manual labor. But once it's done, it's done. Sit around, crack a beer or your favorite beverage, and understand that you really accomplished something. The one thing I can really suggest is once you start, do not stop. Unless for some reason, some cataclysmic event happens to you and your family, God forbid, and you just have no choice. But if everybody is happy and healthy, if everybody is still going strong, don't stop. So many times I've seen people get into it, they get discouraged, they pull a back muscle, they break a pressure line, and they have to call a plumber to turn everything off and get things fixed, and they get discouraged, it falls apart, and pretty soon coach is called in to finish it when it really wasn't necessary. Everyone had the skills and temperament to do it. They just got their confidence knocked to the sidelines. And yeah, I went in and I finished many a job that way, but it wasn't necessary. And what you guys have done here with me today is you've empowered yourself. You've been able to look at the whole picture, not just a microscopic part of it, and you know that you're going to bite this off in chunks that you're going to be able to be successful at, rather than looking at a whole big picture and getting overwhelmed, okay? One last thing about scheduling. When you look at it, you may be thinking about the project in January, right after the holidays are done, like right now, and you're in an environment where maybe you can't do anything right now because it's A, too cold, B, too wet, or C, too darn frozen, and you're not going to be able to do anything right away. So now you've got all your planning and all those things done, your W's and H's are filled in, and now it's just a waiting game. If you're like me, where I practiced design and contracting in the Central Valley of California, by the time July rolled around, it was freaking hot and the ground was really, really hard. So scheduling this kind of thing might behoove you to target late spring when the weather starts to stabilize, or mid to late fall before winter really descends, and you can deal with much cooler temps, maybe softer, more wetter ground to work in, and that too will make it a lot easier to be successful. Getting out there on those 2 weeks, and the 2-week forecast for you is the coolest day is 95, and you got heat spikes that are going to 107, 108, which was kind of customary for me. That makes it really tough on people who are not in the business and not accustomed to doing this every day. I don't want anybody to suffer a darn heat stroke as a result of this stuff just to save a few bucks. So you have to really plan and be smart. Know your local environment and look at that weather report at all times when you're about ready to launch. All right, so let's take a minute and review. In this video, we talked about landscape basics and a beginner's guide to landscape projects for 2021. We talked about the 5 W's and an H, the who, what, where, when, and whys, and a how. That's a great mental launch point right there. Also, don't forget to communicate. We are going to plan and budget. We are going to research. We are going to sketch. We are going to schedule. And then we're going to implement and execute the project itself. It's that simple. I know it's probably sometimes an overwhelming thing, but once you start doing that, watch some other videos on the channel if you don't mind, and we cover other facets of all of this. It'll be a lot easier for you guys, I really promise. And that's why I think 2021 is going to be a fantastic year. I'm planning on making it a fantastic year. I hope you are too. Hey, if you would like just a little something you could put on the fridge, something that might really help you besides going back and watching this video over and over, I have a freebie for you. I'd like to send to you, no obligation or anything else, a 15-step DIY landscape checklist, something that you can put right up there and you can see every single step. Hey, at the bottom of this video, as always, there's an email. Send it to me, and just put 15-step DIY checklist, please, and we'll get it off to you right away. And I truly hope that helps you. Okay, that's all I have for you this week. You guys can always drop a comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that bell if you'd like to know, but keep in mind, we come at you every single Friday. Don't forget our plan of the week this week and all the other weeks behind, and I will catch you next week, Friday. As always, I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. Thanks for staying with me till the end, and I will see you next week. Let's get those hands dirty. Take care.